Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of the Stargate franchise documentary. Today I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Jennifer Spence, who played the role of Dr. Lisa Park in Stargate Universe. Stargate Universe, one of the parts of the Stargate series, Stargate Universe from 2009-2011. 40 episodes of which Jennifer Spence appeared in, a substantial 36 episodes out of that 40. Jennifer, 2011, 9 years ago, nearly a decade. Does it almost feel that long, or does it does it feel almost like yesterday that you were on the set?
Yeah, it's both. Like it does feel like a long time ago because it was a long time ago, but on the other hand, yeah, it feels very fresh and, still in touch with a lot of the actors and crew. And so it doesn't feel that far away from that respect.
And I suppose, Jennifer, in terms of Stargate Universe, obviously it came after Stargate SG-1, which had a massive sort of cult following, and then another spin-off series, sort of Stargate Atlantis. So obviously the producers needed to find something different to make this unique and sort of stand on its own 2 feet, because obviously Stargate Atlantis and Stargate SG-1 had sort of covered the whole sort of gay sort of travel sort of aspects and different enemies from sort of different worlds as such. So Stargate Universe went about a sort of a different element of people's ships sort of lost in space, and indeed a very successful one.
Absolutely. And it was nice because I think they did something a little different too. So it's like they moved with what they already had, which they knew, was successful. And then they added new elements too, where it was like a deepening of relationships and maybe fewer aliens, but a deepening of actual relationships and survival on a ship, which was, I thought, really cool.
And just in terms of your own character, Dr. Lisa Park, obviously you heard being in Vancouver in Canada at the time, I suppose, come 2009, 2008, Stargate was a massive thing, and to be involved in such a project, once you heard the word Stargate, I suppose in terms of an actor or an actress, your sort of eyes lit up in terms of what that could be. So how did the opportunity come about for you to get cast a role in Dr. Lisa Park in Stargate Universe? And had you tried out for previous roles in Stargate Atlantis and Stargate SG-1?
Yeah, I'd auditioned for a few roles in both Atlantis and SG-1, I think. So I was well aware of the franchise. And I auditioned for Lisa Park, but I'd actually auditioned for a couple of other roles first in Stargate Universe, and then wound up getting Lisa Park, which I think was originally written as a man. It was a male character, and then they switched it to a female. And had me on board, which was fantastic. So I was really excited because not only because it was such a successful franchise and because of the people involved, but because I saw that Robert Carlyle was going to be leading it. And I was just like, oh my God, because I was such a fan of his work and had sort of grown up watching a lot of his shows with my parents. So I had a lot of respect for him as an actor. So that was really cool to hear that he was going to be helming it.
I suppose, Jennifer, you mentioned Robert Carlyle, and I suppose for any sort of TV series, it has to, when you're going with an all-new type of set in terms of not having anyone from Stargate SG-1 or Stargate Atlantis, for the show to sort of catch on to that sort of fan base, it needs that massive star, that massive draw, that massive sort of pull as well. And I suppose Robert gave that sort of show that in terms of people were saying, oh, Robert Carlyle, he sort of had the same sort of stature as sort of Richard Dean Anderson would have had, or Jason Momoa had in Stargate Atlantis, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just, when you work with someone who has that kind of body of work, it's you just learn so much, and it's just such a thrill on so many levels.
And the Destiny sort of ship itself, in terms of the set, normally speaking about sort of, I've done a documentary there about Battlestar Galactica as well, and they just told me about what that set looked like. It was a massive sort of hangar that sort of went on for ages. The Destiny sort of ship itself, what was that set like? Was it huge, and what did that ensemble, or what did it look like if you were walking down the sort of the corridors of the Destiny?
Oh, they did a fantastic job with the set, all the production designers and art directors. Excuse me, we shot it at, excuse me, it's not COVID, I promise. Just choked back on my saliva when I breathed in.
Oh, apologies.
No, we shot it at a place called Bridge Studios in Burnaby. In Vancouver, so they had a wide number of sound stages there. And so depending on what set we were in, whether it was the Apple Core, whether it was the the bridge, whether it was the gate room, they were all on different sound stages, but in the same sort of perimeter. And yeah, it was fantastic. Like just the light, you just walk down the corridors and the lighting and the ambiance of just a little bit of dry ice and smoke. It was just very haunting and really makes you feel like you're there. So it was exciting to get to work with that level of set and art direction and place.
I suppose your character, Dr. Lisa Park, she sort of looked friendly and sort of caring on the outside, but that sort of vixen sort of appealed to her as well in terms of endearing sort of character, that she sort of played the sort of good morale, but had the sort of intentions as well that I suppose flaws of every human being.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice way to put it. When people have multiple layers, and still waters run deep, and people have secrets and things that are great about them and things that are not so great about them. So it's nice to get to play a character that's a little more complex.
Yeah, and most of your scenes were with Peter Kelmus, who played Adam Brody, and Patrick Gilmore as well. So you were sort of an ensemble, sort of trio as such, and that sort of camaraderie between each other, I suppose, being sort of, I think all of you are Vancouver sort of based sort of actors as well. So did you actually know each other before you all got cast in this role?
No, this was the first time I'd ever met them. And yeah, what a journey we took together. We definitely all became really close, as did most of the cast. That you hear the cliche of film sets become like family, but there's a reason it's a cliche, especially when you get a good group of people together, which this was. So, but yeah, that was the first time I'd worked with either of them.
And I suppose, Jennifer, your own character as well, she gets suspected in terms of a murder sort of plot as well when Sergeant Spencer meets these sort of death, but you sort of have an alibi to sort of back you up. And how is that sort of an intriguing sort of a storyline or a twist that you're involved in?
Sorry, which one? Which storyline?
The Sergeant Spencer's death.
Sorry, one more time. The which?
Oh, Sergeant Spencer's death. Okay.
Oh, I don't.
Okay, I'm probably a research sort of flaw there, but in terms of the ship sort of Destiny as well, and in terms of the plot, and you touched on an awful lot of moral sort of stories in terms of sort of human life, that sort of isolation, that sort of loneliness, that sort of feeling of being lost as well. And how was it like to sort of convey those sorts of emotions?
It was a great challenge to just put oneself in that position of being stranded with no way home and trying to survive with limited resources and opposing philosophies and ways of doing things. It was wonderful because, again, it just taps into what really excites me as an actor, is when you can look at how do people behave and why? You know, what makes them do certain things? And when someone's really pushed to their limit, what happens? And does that make them a bad person if they don't behave as we think they should? And, you know, it brings up all these questions about character, you know, character as a human being. So that was really exciting to me to get to explore all that and in the imperfections of it all.
And Jennifer, in terms of Stargate universe as well, you had sort of cameo roles. I know Amanda Tapping appeared, Richard Dean Anderson appeared as well, Robert Picardo, Bob Picardo appeared as well. And how important was it to sort of have that sort of crossover, that sort of that niche that sort of tied you into the Stargate sort of universe and the TV series, that you weren't sort of cast adrift, as the saying goes?
Yeah, no, it was nice to have different characters poking in, because again, it sort of felt like, you know, they were the pioneers, they laid the groundwork, so for them to come in just made sense, you know, of sort of showing us the way. And so I thought that was a great crossover of how they came in, and then what happens to these new characters with the situation they're in, and the sort of cards they've been dealt.
Yeah, and in terms of your own character now, Jennifer, Dr. Lisa Park, this is probably the hardest sort of question I'll sort of ask you before I round off. If someone put that sort of character into a Stargate sort of dictionary, and they left two blank sentences underneath, and asked you, Jennifer Spence, having portrayed that character, to write those two sentences, what would you like those two sentences to read, having portrayed Lisa?
That's a great question. I would say Dr. Lisa Park was a very intelligent and practical scientist on board the ship, who also had a proclivity for certain intimate situations and several secrets, and who always did her best to contribute to the betterment of everyone's survival.
On that note, Jennifer Spence, that was great. And on that note, Jennifer Spence, a pleasure talking to you today to relive your memories of Stargate universe and your role as Dr. Lisa Park. And no doubt you're still heavily involved in the Stargate sort of franchise. Once you're part of the furniture, as the saying goes, you're always going to be involved or instilled in it some way as it keeps developing onto the next sort of decade or so. But for the moment, Jennifer Spence, pleasure talking to you, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing the interview.
Thank you.
Bye.